Hi, friends. I'm Lauren.
And I'm Katie, and welcome to Okay, But Did You Know? A podcast where we talk about the TV and media that we love with a friend who's never seen it before.
Today we're recapping and chatting about Once Upon a Time, episode 208, Into the Deep. This episode aired on November 25th, 2012. It was written by Kalinda Vasquez and Daniel T. Thompson, and was directed by Ron Underwood. Before we get into our recapping and chatting and general fun chaos, here is a synopsis for the episode, formatted a little differently than normal. As Killian returns from the beanstalk, Cora feels betrayed by his actions and vows to find her own way to Storybrooke without him. Now that Henry and Aurora can talk to one another in the netherworld, Regina, David, and Gold try to use this connection to feed Snow and Emma vital information about how they can stop Cora by stunning her with the same ink they used to capture Rumple. But when Aurora is woken suddenly due to an attack by Cora's henchmen where she's kidnapped, Henry is hurt from the dream world, and they decide that rather than sending Henry back to the fiery inferno, Regina must create a new sleeping curse to put David under, so that he can travel to the netherworld and relay the message himself. With Aurora kidnapped, the only other person who can go through to receive the message is Snow. Her and David reunite briefly, but quickly realize that True Love's kiss won't wake David yet, and she'll have to get home in order to save him. Meanwhile, now that Cora has Aurora captured, she attempts to get in the princess's good graces by offering her information that could help her reunite with Philip. But when she refuses, Cora knocks her out, only to be awoken and saved by Killian, who claims he is releasing her as revenge for being slighted his chance at the Dark One. However, with Aurora free, it's revealed that Killian kept her heart behind, allowing them to manipulate the princess so that they can get the compass and beat the heroes to Storybrooke.
As I always say, this was an episode.
We're getting really into the plot of the episode, to be fair. So we really are getting some pretty heavy plot going right now, which is good.
Yes, very enjoyable and not just, vibes.
Yeah, we've been having vibes, I would say, for probably the last 2 episodes, maybe 3 if you count the Doctor.
Mm-hmm. Okay, but that was a vibe.
The Doctor was a vibe, to be fair. That was Steampunk Wizard of Oz, Frankenstein, Mad Hatter, Halloween. I don't know how else you call that.
Which is so funny because we play Jackbox games, and I had to explain to my 9-year-old Frankenstein.
Like the monster?
So one of the things, it was a little quiz thing, and you had to put people, it's role models, so you have to put the whatever it is, because they have different categories, in with whoever you think it matches best with, and they did monsters. And of course, one listed was Frankenstein, and I start yelling at the TV, and I'm like, no.
Oh, okay.
It's Frankenstein's monster. It's Dr. Frankenstein. And my kid's like, no, Mom, it's Frankenstein. I was like, look here, child. And my poor husband's sitting there like, nope, Mom's right. Listen to her on this one, please. Listen to your mother about this. Because Autumn's sitting there like, why? And he's just like, it's Frankenstein. Please listen to her. I don't need to hear this again.
He's heard this rant one too many times. I don't think he needs
really
to be
has.
I don't think he needs to be traumatized again.
He's like, nope, I've heard enough. I need to watch Lisa Frankenstein, though. I haven't seen it yet.
Neither have I.
But I've heard it's amazing, and I need to see it. This episode had some amazing lines, and this was one of those times that I watched the episode while Lauren stared at me.
And ate lunch, weirdly enough.
It was duck.
It was delicious. It was.
I just need that on a shirt. It was duck. It was delicious. It's it's DiGiorno.
It's not delivery, it's DiGiorno.
But the lines, I mean, just starting off, your pretty face buys you a lot, but not my time. And I was like, damn.
Yeah, that is a fan favorite Cora line. I wrote that one down too, because because you and I both, the entire time with all this, Killian has the best lines. And Cora,
best lines.
I mean, Cora also has some amazing lines, but it's the fact of she's partnered herself with this man, and in the next episode, you'll know for exactly how long. She has no patience for him whatsoever.
She doesn't look like she has much patience for anything.
This is true. I mean, but she was, like you said, she was when you said before, she was very adorable with her umbrella. And as I said, I'm like, that's a marker for how much it's raining when they give any of the characters umbrellas.
But we had a wet hook, so I'm good.
As we go along, I wrote this down in my other stats rewatch notes. I've noticed that he gets rained on a lot. Truthfully, he'll be in scenes with other people that have umbrellas or that have hoods, and he doesn't. And you'll just see just the shooting days worth of rain on his shoulders, basically. I'm like, this poor man, how did he not get pneumonia every week?
And then, like, I did love too, how do we stop her? I don't know.
One can never know.
One can never know.
No, not at all.
And then the best line, condiments are this world's most powerful magic. And I'm like, dude.
I would say he's trying. I did enjoy Granny's, it didn't take any dark magic either, and then she's like, I charge extra for the pickles, and I think the assumption is she only charges him extra for the pickles.
Oh, yeah.
But I did write down next to that one, we have to have a topic about condiments and dipping sauces, because I think this is an important thing, because I think it says a lot about a person's personality. So I went not necessarily for burgers, but I guess for sandwiches or in general, what are some of your favorite condiments or dipping sauces?
Dipping sauce? I go more towards dipping sauce,
Okay.
because down here you have the discussion of mayonnaise that you use when it comes to sandwiches, because there's debate in the South of Hellman's versus Duke's. If it's not Duke's, you're wrong. It needs to be Duke's mayonnaise. But dipping sauce, I love sweet and sour.
Okay.
I'm a sweet and sour person.
That is fair. Again, I feel like it depends on what, like, I have the overly complicated answer of it depends on what I'm dipping something in. Because like
or what's being dipped.
Yeah. It's like, you have the main conversation, I think, around here, because I'm in New York, home of buffalo wings, of whether it's blue cheese or ranch. I personally don't like blue cheese, so my dipping sauce.
I hate blue cheese.
My dipping sauce of choice is usually ranch, but I've come to appreciate a love of this combination, because a pub I went to, this was their chosen dipping sauce for their onion rings. It was onion rings with a horseradish cream, kind of like you get with like a steak.
Okay.
That is delicious. That's a delicious combination. It's like a horseradish cream sauce.
That sounds like it'd be good. Like an actual cream with it, so it kind of cuts the horseradish a little bit.
It's not like pure horseradish, because I like horseradish like based dipping sauces, kind of like the bloomin' sauce you get from Outback, because it's a little bit of punch with whatever seasoning you give it, and on onion rings it is delicious. So
if we get down to brand though, then I need Zaxby's sauce.
Yeah, although I say when it comes to chicken fingers, I do like ranch, but I actually do prefer a honey mustard.
Now I'm hungry, man.
Oops.
No, it's all right.
Oops.
See, I didn't know if you would understand the mayonnaise debacle.
No, I understand it, and up here it's Hellman's just because that's what's more prevalent. But I mean, Duke's is an option. But also, if I'm making something out of mayo, I usually would prefer Kewpie mayo over literally anything.
Oh no, that's accurate as I was about to say accurate as fuck, but like
it is.
I love Kewpie mayo, but like from a Southern standpoint, it has to be Duke's.
No, it's fair.
And I don't trust Hellman households, but like if it's all you have up there, or like no one really cares where you are.
Yeah.
Where I am, people care a little bit too much.
I can't say anyone cares necessarily up here, and this episode I feel like should come with like a content warning at the beginning. Don't listen if you're hungry. Apparently,
it probably should. Now I'm hungry.
Oops.
Here, we can just segue straight into zombies?
Sure, yes we can. The zombies. It was a choice that I don't think we ever see this usage ever again of one heart to control others, because it implies that like she didn't actually kill them. That's why I called them the henchmen in the synopsis, basically, because like the assumption with the heart magic is when you take out a heart, you're not killing the person, you're controlling them. That's the main idea with it. So the fact that everyone else was dead when this happened was dramatic on Cora's part, but there's inconsistencies with the hearts and how all that works, and I actually have kind of worked through my confusion with it a little bit based off of kind of how I know a lot of writers' rooms kind of work now. Because from the Truest Blood podcast, Kristen Bauer was saying in the course of for True Blood, the showrunner kind of gave the directors sort of free reign for how they wanted the certain magical elements to work. And so like every director would have a different idea for how the glamour would work, or how Suki's Suki's mind reading would work kind of for that scene, like for that episode. So I wouldn't put it past Eddie and Adam to kind of let the writers or whoever's writing the episode add in their own element of how the heart magic can work, which is good for creative freedom, not the best for world building consistency. But at the end of the day, I'm kind of okay with like something is here and we never see it again, and then something is there and we never see it again. Like the main consistency is heart equals control.
Okay. That makes sense. It was just, like you said, it was a choice.
It was a choice.
Very much a choice. I did like that, Aurora ended up with like she felt like she had a purpose after everything that had happened. I still like. I'm loving how everything is with Aurora and Mulan. Mulan made her promise. I still wish it was not all because of Philip. Like, I know he's dead. I know she loved him, but it's just kind of like, all right, he's dead.
Well, we're kind of getting, I mean, I know we're only like 2 weeks or so into the two of them kind of knowing each other, but I think at this point we are beyond Mulan having this strong desire to protect Aurora solely for Philip.
Yeah, it's got to be past that.
Yeah.
I'm sitting here this whole time like, this can't be for a dead prince anymore.
Not in Mulan's
We've got to be past this point. Mulan.
Sleeping Warrior.
Yeah.
It's a good time.
It's nice.
It's a good time.
It makes sense, but it makes sense in the storyline.
It makes perfect sense. Next week will be the last time we see them for the rest of the season. We see them in like one scene at in the finale. But we will see Aurora and Mulan on and off throughout the course of the show. We'll see a little bit more of them in the beginning of season 3. And we'll kind of we'll get what I deem to be confirmation of Mulan's feelings, as well as the actor who played Mulan. The writers left it very ambiguous for no reason. And but that's my thing, is they left it ambiguous because they meant it to be about Aurora. If they had meant it to be about Philip, it would have been way less ambiguous. That's all I'm saying.
We talked a little bit about like the reactions on people's faces, like Regina's face when it's like, oh, it's Cora, and then Gold's face throughout different aspects, like different conversations. There's just so many moments in this episode that you're just like, damn, because of how they're speaking, how everybody's speaking to each other. Just the whole like, oh, debatable, like who's more powerful. It makes me think of all the different discussions we have like in the Marvel fandom of who's the most powerful, and it's just like, it's who you don't realize it is at the end of the day, which, you know, Gold really is strong. Like Rumpelstiltskin is scary strong, and it's weird, but I liked going back to like the classic of, oh, the needle on the spinning wheel, like that was really nice. I like when they do things like that. The mention of the mermaid. I was like, all right, I know we're going to get that. Like, duh.
Yeah, it's still really unfortunate that Ariel comes in. It has nothing to do with what they dropped in 112. It's just that whatever plan they had, they left far, far away.
I'm so sad, though, because, like, it'd be so much fun.
We are going to get her. It's just, I don't know what they were planning, but I think you're going to like how they incorporate her anyway.
That's fair. So I like Ariel. It's a good one.
They do well with Ariel. She's not necessarily a main character, but she's not designed to be.
I did love how they just dropped Woods of the Dead. We got zombies and Woods of the Dead in the same episode.
Why not?
Why not? I had a moment of, oh, Charming is smart, like, because he's figuring out with the floor that he's like, oh, she's under me, and then I just went, I take it back. Like, immediately I was like, I take it back, never mind.
Yeah, it's like, I will protect this with my life. Breaks pendant immediately.
And then I had a moment, you told me I would probably get sick of it at a certain time, but there's that, like, lovely moment. Let me actually get my shit together. And instead of you going into my notes, the whole "you found me" thing, I wrote down that line, "you found me," and then just under that I have this picture. I'm sending it to your WhatsApp.
Okay.
This of course will be in the wiki, but it's the SpongeBob meme.
SpongeBob meme. I found you.
I know it's only season 2, but already I'm like, oh god, how much are we going to do this?
To be fair, most fans got sick of it in season 1.
I'm so sick of it, but he's like, you found me, and I'm like,
but I did love Regina's line when she's talking to Henry and she goes, if there's one thing I know about your grandparents, it's that they always find each other. And there are multiple ways that line could have been chosen. Lana could have chosen to do it in more of a reassuring way, but like, she did it in the
look on her face.
She did it in I will begrudgingly say this stupid thing to make my son feel better, but I hate saying this kind of way.
Look, she just feels the way that we do. Why do we keep having to say this phrase or hear this phrase?
And
then of course they can't touch each other. It's all so sad, and I'm just kind of like, so we're redoing that storyline just the other way around.
Yep. Now someone else is trapped, and we have to save them.
Now someone else. And of course Milan took the compass, because of course.
Yeah.
And just like in all caps, oh shit, for the last one when realizing that Cora had Aurora's heart and Hook and everything. And I'm just sitting, well, you saw what I was doing. I'm sitting here like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
And Lauren's just like, what's happening? Wait a minute, what are you seeing? And I'm like, what's happening?
Yeah, when you don't give me enough identifiers, I can't time out what's happening.
So, yeah. As always, that was an episode. It was good.
This was a good episode. This is one that I greatly enjoy. It's we have Cora back, obviously. At this point, I think I did the math. I think there's only one, maybe two episodes for the rest of Cora's run on the show, that at least the run of this season, that she's not in. So because she is our big baddie for the season, so we do want to see more of her. And I mean, Killian is also just fun to watch in general.
Yeah, he is.
To be fair,
I think I even wrote at one point, Hook could call me sweetheart. We're good. Just go right ahead.
Yeah. So this was actually the first episode to not feature any flashbacks whatsoever. It is solely current timeline stuff, because a lot's going on this episode. Like we saw with my synopsis, I had to intersplice them because I did have an original synopsis that was much shorter, actually, that I was just doing in Storybrooke and in the Enchanted Forest. But like so much of this episode interweaves, it didn't make sense to split them up into two different paragraphs. I'll probably do that again next week. But this episode is just like, it's full of so many good one-liners. I would have thought it was written by Jen Espenson, but one of the writers is a woman, so I'm going to put it on that.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of our one-liner heavy episodes are usually written by the women in the writer's room. So I'm going to keep it with that. Your thing about Rumpel saying, like, no, that Cora's not more powerful than him, and Regina just goes debatable. It's like, I can handle Cora. That's not how she tells the story. It's like, there's so much history there that I want to talk about.
And can't yet.
I can't. Because I wrote down a line underneath it that I had to strike through, so I didn't say it out loud. Because
I know about this, but you don't.
I know something you don't know. Basically what I'm going for. To be fair, that's most of this podcast, is one or the other. I know something you don't know. Every time. But so our red fiery room of death.
Red fire room of death.
That's what I call it. The red fire room of death. So I had found this clip in the last episode, because I thought it was going to be relevant, and it turned out it wasn't, because it was a lot about the special effects and how designing that room looks. And that's the clip where I found that they do all of this in like 3 to 4 weeks, basically. Basically, that room was like a mirrored floor and a mirrored ceiling, and the rest of it is green screen, obviously. And
oh, that's weird.
Which is, the rest of it, they just kind of have to fill all of it in, and they have to like basically have fans blowing at them to be like the fire flames and everything. But so basically filming in that room was nuts, is what basically they said in the Paley Fest, because Jen said that she had been on set filming, like watching them film that day. And she's like, it's weird because they're in the room together and it's silent and there's wind blowing at them and they're screaming. Which by itself is bizarre, but then you add on the fact that Ginny added on the fact of not only did they do that together, but also they had to do it separately, because at various parts of the scene, snow is see-through. So they're standing on a disco floor, green screen, silent stage with wind screaming at no one. Like,
in the fire flame.
Into the fire and flames. So it's the fact of like, acting is a weird job, like to start out with. Acting is a weird job. Then you add on all these other things. It's like, and for all of it to come together, the performance and the editing and the special effects, for all that to come together and look as cohesive as it does. Like, the CGI may not be the best, but truthfully, that was well done.
Oh, very well done.
So.
Well, we've spoken so much on the CGI with, this time period and TV. Yeah. It's just different.
Yeah, exactly. And they all do such a good job. Like, for what they have available, they all do such a good job, and it's the actors' jobs to basically kind of make it as believable as they can. And I think they did well with it. And it's just have that in the back of your mind of them standing on a disco floor screaming at no one. I think it's funny.
Disco floor.
That's what that's what they called it, because that's basically what it is.
Disco floor,
because it looks like a dance floor, basically, that thing.
I didn't know that the netherworld would be so shiny.
Who knew the netherworld could also be, Studio 54?
Do the hustle.
I have a question for you.
Oh, shit.
How did you feel about the random inclusion of Snow being able to talk to a raven?
I actually wrote that down. Where did I write that down? I said, LMAO, Snow talking to a crow. I was like, I get it, but why?
Yeah, right. It's because it's such a callback to like the animation, but it's nothing we've seen in the show. It's just all of a sudden she just stops and there's a raven on her shoulder and she just goes, Korra has Aurora. Like it's all very serious. The raven's name was Chili, apparently.
Oh,
according to Ginnifer Goodwin. I got that from the wiki, and I think I know I've heard it from an interview. I couldn't tell you which one though, but apparently his name is Chili.
It's just so random. Like it makes sense, but at the same time, you're just like, the crow makes sense because it's Korra.
Mm-hmm.
It's just they didn't do enough, I think, with animals leading up to this with Snow for us to be like, oh yeah, no, that makes sense. A lot of us have to like remember
that's
the original Snow White, and if
you
don't, like, it's like, how did that work?
It's a little bizarre, and I think I don't know if we see her talking to crows or ravens again, or we just see people using them as carrier pigeons, basically, to share notes. I don't remember exactly, because I can think of another scene
that
where
makes
it's
sense,
used,
though. But crows and ravens make sense, though. Hugin and Munin were the messengers for Odin, so, like, crows, that makes sense.
Yeah, but also, like...
That's where my brain makes the connect.
Yeah, but also, I'm just thinking, like, of, like, Diaval from, like, Maleficent is what I'm thinking.
Oh, true. I didn't think about that one. See, well, my brain goes immediately to what's, tattooed on me.
Mm-hmm.
So... Because it's a constant reminder.
So, I'm thinking more giant, scary dragon lady.
Yeah, I'm thinking...
So there's that.
Crows, messengers.
Mm-hmm. So I do have some plot issues with this episode. Because, like, I'll start with the one that's less offensive. Basically...
Less offensive.
Less offensive to me, basically. So,
okay.
The, Korra's thing for trying to get in Aurora's good graces to get her to work as a double agent, offering her information about how a wraith, when it consumes a soul, it's not lost forever. It goes to another world where it can be reunited with its body.
Mm-hmm.
Basically gets dropped off. Like, it gets dropped as like this big thing that could be like a side plot for us to see Aurora and Mulan again. But truthfully, it's never actually picked up. We just assume that they succeeded because by the end of the season, we just see Philip alive again. And, like, it's never explained. And I also don't even know if maybe they never figured it out and just figured, hey, we're just going to drop this and let it be. I don't really know. But it's just like, I wanted more of that. More than just kind of being a drop thing, like a bait, basically. And then we see the fruition of it, but we never actually see it work. There's just not enough time in the story. Because I was telling you before we recorded that, like, this season is probably one of the few that doesn't really lend itself to having filler because it's so plot heavy. I do think that season 2 of all of the seasons is the structurally strongest of all 7 seasons, just the way that it's structured. Because, like, seasons 3, 4, and 5 have very strict A and B half seasons of 11 episodes and 11 episodes. Ish. I'll go into deeper analysis when we get there on like how some seasons really are only 9 episodes, but this one, because they are taking most of the season to tell kind of one story that is Korra on a rampage, it has more time to really, and also the way that it pulls in like the latter episodes, it'll pull in elements soon of what will come to fruition in later episodes. I think the season does it so well, there's just not enough room for these extra stories, which is unfortunate. I would have rather maybe like they pick up Mulan and Aurora reuniting Philip maybe in the beginning of season 3 when there was a little more time. I don't know how I would have preferred this. It's kind of disappointing.
It sounds like it's going to be disappointing. And like, I'm not even mad that you like told me. I'm just kind of like, why does he have to come back?
He's just gonna come back, and he's gonna be. Unfortunately, he's gonna put a nice little wedge between Sleeping Warrior. Not a wedge, but he's just gonna be there, and Sleeping Warrior just can't be canon.
I don't want it.
I know.
I don't want it. No, thank you.
Yeah. My other plot issue, which is a little more egregious when it comes to me, is the very specific retconning of the quill and the ink that they used to capture Rumpel in season 1.
Yeah.
Because the line very specifically is, the quill was enchanted by the blue fairy. Anyone who signs their name with this is frozen, their magic made impotent. That is the direct quote from the episode. And now they're like, oh no, it wasn't the quill, it was the ink. What?
I thought the ink thing was cool because the squid and all that stuff.
We'll see more with the squid.
But I thought that part, I was like, okay, the ink thing sounds cool. But I was like, but I don't remember that's how that happened.
It's not how that happened. And like, yeah, maybe like in viewer world in 2012, this was a year after we saw that episode, but I remember. So the fact that they just flat out were like, nope, it wasn't that, it was this. Like, how about no? How about you just actually stick to your own world building for once? Like, I know what am I read before about how writers can, I'm okay with them having creative freedom with certain elements, but like, this is such a small one. Just keep it the same. Just say he had the quill in his cell. Why does it have to be he had a pot of the ink?
I need writer rooms to have, continuity walls.
I need showrunners to do their jobs. Because that's the thing about TV is a writer's medium. It's a showrunner's medium. Because you've got so many different writers and so many different directors. It's the showrunner's job to make sure that everything stays consistent. I feel like Eddie and Adam sometimes do that, but like it's really and so, like, because truthfully we'll never know what was them okaying as an inconsistency. Obviously, they definitely okayed changing this from the quill to the ink, but I do feel like the writers, and I think it was actually confirmed that there was another mess up in season 5 where they actually they realized that it was incorrect and they just kind of figured no one would notice. It took the fans, the episode wasn't over before it was on Twitter of like, that time key makes no sense. Like, there was like a time code at the bottom of exactly how many years prior to the modern time it was supposed to have happened, but it was meant to happen before the curse hit. And it only said 5 years. So everyone's like, how does that work? And they're like, oh, it was 5 years before the curse hit. We're like, so why didn't you say that? Why did you say 5 years ago? After that, they stopped giving us specific time codes.
I'm not surprised.
Because we're smart people.
It's okay. I'm starting to get like videos on my TikTok still of Once Upon a Time stuff, and I don't know how, but it's happening. But one person did like make a video about like Emma's age when she had Henry, and I'm just like, yep, I know what this is about. I actually understand something now.
I know the things now.
And seeing people debate too in the comments, I was like, y'all, that's not up for debate. That's simple math.
It's basic math.
And like knowing that they do have a little bit of an age gap. He's in his 20s.
Yeah, he's 23 based off of the wanted poster.
Still creepy.
A little bit creepy. Just
a lot creepy.
So transitioning into something that I deem less creepy that you don't always agree with me about, the evil charming of this episode.
I don't see it.
But I do.
Because you're attracted to both of them.
This is true.
I'm attracted to one of them.
This is also true. So I said at least Regina and Charming agree on this thing with Henry that they're not going to send him back. I love the scene with Regina and Henry when she's crafting the curse.
Oh, it's so good.
It does beg the question: why does Rumpel have all the ingredients to make a sleeping curse if Regina had to go to Mal the first time, which would imply that a sleeping curse is hard to make?
It's Rumpel.
It's too many questions, but I have a lot of questions about all this, but yeah, I go beyond this, but I love that scene. I love when he kind of says that it smells funny. She goes, I know, sweetheart, it's a curse. It's not meant to be pleasant. She's just like, she's so
motherly. She's so motherly.
She's so tender. And I said before, I love her final line of, if there's one thing I know about your grandparents, it's that they always find each other. That line could be delivered so many ways, but she opted for I'm going to give my son hope, but I'm not going to be happy about saying this anyway, which is the very Regina response to all of this.
Yeah. It makes me think of the Bob meme.
It does.
I'm going to go, but I'm going to complain the whole time.
Yep, exactly. I wrote down when David was talking to Henry about like how he knows the snow is gonna come save him. He's like, well, how'd you know that how'd you know that Emma was gonna save you? It's because I believed in her. That's the kind of faith that runs in our family. And then I wrote, I think it skips a generation.
Just one.
Just a tiny bit of a generation. But I do agree with your statement earlier about how David is, using the pendant and figuring out, oh, the floor is hot, so I have to go down a level kind of thing. But it's the fact of he was told he would be in a different chamber than someone who's returning after being awoken from a sleeping curse. So why did he immediately start yelling for snow?
Because it's charming.
Because, I love his line of, and that theory is the conundrum the world depending on you solving. Is like, you gotta figure it out, my dude. Like, we call you Idiot 2 for a reason. You're gonna hear the line, the two idiots, and then we just call them Idiot 1 and Idiot 2 in, I think, 3 episodes, maybe 4.
Oh, cool.
If that's how math works.
If that's how math
That's how math works. 9, 10, 11. 4 episodes.
There you go. That's how math works.
That's how math works. I count on my fingers.
Simple math.
Again, the computer does the math for me. It's fine. It's fine. But I did like Josh's classical theater training of basically acting opposite nothing but himself and some mirrors. Like his classical training really comes out in this because that takes a lot. Like being able to kind of mime all of that, miming like the hot and all of that other stuff, and just being able to act quite literally off of nothing is very impressive and very hard to do.
Oh yeah, it's amazing.
As we've already established, I have problems.
Just a few.
Just a few. Cora and Hook, their dynamic is...
What's that ship name?
Captain Heart.
Okay.
Because Cora is the Latin root for heart.
Yeah.
So, it's... Did they have to include that much tension between Cora and Hook?
Yes.
Is that in the writing, or is that just Barbara and Colin? Like, really,
both
is my question. Because I did write down using a man's own hook. Kinky. But
I was like, I really sitting here, I was like, oh, she went for the hook. And I'm just kind of having a moment.
I did love that
one.
I know. I did love, though, that when Cora is talking into the heart as Aurora, Barbara lightens her voice as if she's like thinking she has to do an impression of her in order for it to work, which is just kind of an adorable acting choice. But this is actually, you didn't mention this before, so actually I'm curious. Did you question how Killian can take Aurora's heart at all?
I did. I was like, how did that happen? How did that work? I don't think I wrote it down because we were talking and I was watching. So I forgot to write that down. But I was like, wait a minute. How did he do that?
Next week.
Okay. Fair.
It's like, it's such a thing of like, did you question this? I'm not going to give you the answer. I'm just curious if you were curious.
I need to know where your brain is.
Yeah, I need to know where your brain is in order to understand these things.
My brain is watching things happen with Killian and enjoying myself.
Yes, basically. You've got, Colin is one of those actors. He has chemistry, like kind of like Lottie. He's got chemistry with literally everyone, like truthfully. He's got chemistry with everyone, and I'll go, I think, in the next part of the season, I'll pull some of the clips of just him and Robert Carlyle, because their relationship is kind of hilarious, like as just actors, because like it's a marker of like this is the actors clearly got on very well, so they feel safe to kind of make all these choices, but also just to kind of be goofy. One of the best bloopers, I cannot explain. I mean, there's no context to it anyway. It's obviously if the show's going to go anywhere, Hook and Cora are going to make a story work anyway. The show's going to go anywhere, so it's the blooper of some doors opening, and what's meant to be the scene itself is going to be just Rumple. And Bella's supposed to run to him and hug him because she was trapped somewhere. But the blooper is the doors opening, and what you see is Colin and Bobby hugging, and then they realize that the doors opened and the take started, and so Emily runs toward them and like pushes Colin out of the way and just starts hugging Bobby and just yells, "Go away."
Oh my god. Okay, I'm excited for that.
It's such a good, it's like the bloopers are so good. The two of them just have such a good friendship. Like it's the kind of like, it's the same kind of like overtly flirting relationship that kind of comes out of nowhere. But that's,
I don't know anything about that.
That's just Colin in a nutshell, quite frankly. Like I swear, the ship of Hook and Charming, when they finally meet, anything that I always pull out lines of the two of their relationship, because quite frankly the writers were putting stuff in just for the fun of it, because they were playing off of Colin and Josh's friendship, basically. It's the two of them have such a good bromance going on that there's literally lines where they joke about dating each other.
Okay, I'm excited for this.
It's a great time.
Oh, it's going to be great.
So, what did you score this episode?
Okay, so I gave plot 8 because zombies.
Mm-hmm.
That was... I don't mind zombies.
Fair.
But it was very like, what is happening?
Why zombies?
Why zombies? I gave personal 9. I did really enjoy this, but character is 10.
Okay.
Every character in this, just they delivered amazing lines, amazing moments, and the writing was great, like character wise. It was wonderful. I know I made my joke, of course, of like Charming and Snow and the "you found me," but I mean, we know we're gonna get it.
Yeah. It's
getting scoring based off that would give me low scores too often.
It's once upon a catchphrase.
Yeah. So this is a total of 27 for me.
I was so sure this one was going to be a 30, which has happened. That's happened multiple times this season. I was so sure an episode was going to be a 30, and then something happens, and I'm like, nope, can't do it. And I tried. I really tried to get past this, but I couldn't. So not as bad as the last. I think this has happened twice now with 202 and 205. Those I took off more points. This one has a 10 for personal, a 10 for character, and a 9 for plot. Truthfully, the retconning of the quill and the ink, I could not get past it because it's the fact of they are so overtly doing this that gives us a 29. They're so overtly saying, oh, it wasn't actually this. It was actually this thing. Like, but actually it wasn't though. How many times can I say actually in one sentence?
It was one season ago. It's only season 2.
Exactly. We don't have enough time for you to be retconning things to the point where like no one remembers. Like in season 6 they'll change some things, but like at that point it's actually things that don't have any effect on them, so it doesn't matter. So that's my rating for this episode. The last thing I did want to talk about, because this one didn't have a whole lot of fun facts, truthfully. This one this one was a lot of plot, but also in our case I think was a lot of vibes. But
it's so enjoyable.
This is a solid episode.
Yes.
And the last thing I want to touch on was like the idea of that the sleeping curse must be taken willingly kind of thing. And just that whole scene in general. I do think that the spindle needing to be spinning might have been dramatic on Rumple's part, personally. I think he's just being a little overly dramatic. Yeah. That's okay. He's the dark one. He's got his...
I like going back to the classic though.
Yeah, they're going back to the classic because like, you know, he says like before the advent of such inventions as poisoned apples, you had to do it through blood. But, you know, this does fall into the, it must be taken willingly, obviously, with Snow taking the apple in 121, or with Henry also eating the apple in 121 at the very end of it. Later on, that will kind of get retconned just I think for the sake of, I guess, just ease. But what gets retconned is Aurora. Because we'll see... Because I think the very beginning of the season, she said that she one of the sleeping curse to sacrifice herself for everybody else, and what we see is basically an ambush.
Oh wow!
Which is, it's in an episode that I love, but it is kind of lazy writing the way that they do it.
Okay.
Unfortunately, it does pull a few things together, but then it also messes up the timeline, which should shock no one. But this was something that I wrote down. I think you will enjoy, I'm not sure, is when Rumple offers Regina the spindle to absorb. I did like the CGI of the spindle absorbing the sleeping curse. He gives it to her, his line of, Your Majesty, you did his wife. I'm sure you want the honors. You did his wife. Only in fanfiction, buddy.
I mean, it's a good joke.
It's a great joke, even.
Joke. It's a great joke.
At this point I now try, if I don't have anything that I can absolutely like tease for you, I love trying to have some kind of wow factor line that will just basically make you speechless at this point. If I don't have one, I usually have the other.
Look, if you can't get speechless, you get just weird noises out of me, which everybody seems to enjoy. So
there you go.
God.
Only in fanfiction.
Which I've still never read.
And I have a lot. One of these days, I'll accidentally let slip something that will cause someone to find my fanfiction. If they find my Tumblr blogs, quite frankly, I personally deem them they're unfollowable only because like I didn't tag individual threads very well. I was more of a fan of like the
Yeah.
shorter ones. So at the end of the day, really, like I know how to read certain threads or how to read through them because I usually will I can follow them if I go through like the tags of the character or of the other person I was writing with, if I have a lot with that one person. But like truthfully, if someone found my blogs, I don't know if they could actually follow what any of it was.
I was like going to be funny and bring up Tumblr and be like, once upon a, and then I realized I had to re-download it.
You're not gonna find me. Like truthfully,
That's how I never go on here anymore.
I know. It's like that, and also I am on AO3, and I actually do still post on AO3, but again, none of my usernames really interconnect, so if you were ever to think you could find me, you probably can't.
That's fair. I'm just curious, are people still active on... Is Tumblr still a thing?
As far as I'm aware.
I love that I look up Once Upon a Time, and all of it is Regina edits.
Yeah, that tracks.
Oh, that's all I found so far is Regina edits.
Yep, that tracks. I mean, the Evil Regals are the ones that I think are probably the most active still.
Okay.
But that also could be my bias of I post a lot of stuff about Regina, so therefore I see a lot of stuff about Regina. So I could be...
Or I post
really
nothing because I don't want spoilers.
This is true. Or really Lana. But like, I have this thing, and I don't entirely like how the fandom treats Lana.
Yeah, you've told me about this before.
I see a lot of, like, they'll kind of, like, vilify her for one mistake, like, really badly, but then go back to, like, basically love bombing her the next day because people's attention spans are not very long. And it's a lot of forgetting that our favorite actors are real people. We talked about that before. These are real people behind these screens. But I think it's also a little bit of forgetting that we don't actually know these people.
Yeah. Like, there's a lot of closed doors. We don't know what's going on behind.
We don't know anything. Like we know the commodity version that these people chose to show us at the end of the day. And like I say this, and like as us as well, people listening to this podcast, unless they know us outside of our social media presence, people don't also know us. Like, the version that we've shown online. Like like you and I know each other because we have an actual friendship. But at the end of the day, like our favorite actors, we know the versions that they've chosen to show us. We don't actually know them. And
exactly. And I know we talk a lot of like, oh, I love this actress. Like, they're amazing, this and that, like when it comes to actors. But like, I like what they've showed me and their acting. Like, when I say that, I specifically mean like their talent. Yeah. I enjoy their talent.
Exactly.
There's a lot of actors and actresses out there. I may have enjoyed them in something, but them and their personality, even the parts they have shown to the public, I'm like, no, thank you.
Yep.
And that's not like a separate art from artist, because you'll have a situation of like, okay, this person did this thing, this amazing movie that I loved 20 years ago. Oh, but now they're really shitty.
Yeah.
That's not what I mean.
No, not like that.
There's a timeline.
There's a timeline of that. No, it's we like what they've put out. We like their work. Like when we say I love this actress, like we like their work. No, there are some actors that I have met. Like I have my wall of autographs behind me. But I wouldn't go as far to say that I know any of these people. But like even like the one that I spoke to, the one that's right here, for 20 minutes, I don't know her. I spoke to her for 20 minutes in 2021, and like it's a bizarre as all get out experience. But like I would never go as far to say that I know these people. I spoke to them, I met them, I met them at a convention, which is a very professional place anyway. So it's something that like
they were working.
They were working.
You met them when they were working.
Exactly. Like I see these videos and I don't comment on them, mostly because I know that 90% of the time it's a young person that's posting them. 90% of the time. So I just don't for that aspect. But like I know it's an important part of growing up to kind of have these kinds of parasocial relationships. Because that's kind of something that's been going on since not that it's important, but it's something that happens at that age, and it takes time and it takes experience to get the cognitive reasoning and the critical thinking skills to separate that from I actually know this person. And some people can, some people can't. But most people, I would say, most people that have the ability to do that do so as they get older.
Yeah. I can't really add anything to that because like I'm 30 and I very much can watch media now and be like, okay,
yeah,
this timeline, this actor, will I enjoy this? Like there is like a weird thing with that. Like there's definitely some actors out there. Actors I've never liked because of their personal life. and what they've shown. Tom Cruise. But I cannot enjoy anything with Tom Cruise in it.
That's
I
fair.
can't.
That's fair.
I've tried. I can't do it. But, but it then goes into the thing of like, these people are also human and humans make mistakes.
Yep.
It's when they make mistake after mistake after mistake, then you just kind of go, oh, you're dumb. Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
There's a difference between a well-meaning mistake and genuinely problematic behavior.
Thank you all for listening. Join us next time when we discuss Bob's Burgers Season 4, Episode 9, Slumber Party, and Episode 10, Presta Tina O. Don't forget to like, rate, and follow the podcast wherever you listen so you can be notified every time we publish a new episode. Follow us at OBDYK_pod on Instagram and TikTok. And if you'd like to join our new book club, you can find the link with more details in our show notes.
This has been an episode of Okay, But Did You Know? A TV and media podcast. It was hosted by Lauren and Katie and edited by Lauren.